One day we'll be fully convinced that we are somebody without the need to oppress or to other anybody.
You're listening to Good Faith Weekly. I'm Mitch Randall.
And I'm Missy Randall.
We're here each week exploring the intersection of faith and culture
We find people who stand up, speak out, and step forward.
for inclusion, freedom, and justice for all.
It's time for Good Faith Weekly.
Brought to you by Good Faith Media. Welcome to Good Faith Weekly. On this episode, we've got a very special time this week. Missy sits down with Reverend Dr. Starlette Thomas as they talk about the passing of a giant, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. And then later on the pod, we're going to hear from Reverend Jackson's own words. It is a very special episode, so stay tuned. Good Faith Media offers fall, spring, and summer paid internships. Interns work remotely, like the rest of the GFM staff, on everything from research and writing to social media campaigns to audio and video production. GFM interns are undergraduate and graduate students. We work hard to connect with interns' interests and abilities and also offer opportunities to build new skill sets. Learn more about the Good Faith Media internship program at goodfaithmedia.org.
Welcome back to Good Faith Weekly. On today's episode, we have a very special guest. We have the Reverend Dr. Starlette Thomas, who is an author, activist, visual artist, and race abolitionist. She is the associate editor and the director of the Raceless Gospel Initiative here at Good Faith Media. The Raceless Gospel aims to empower Christians to speak about the socio-political construct of race and the injustices that intersect in their churches, communities, and country. She is also a lover of a good fruit salad, chocolate chip cookies, though her putt-putt game could use a little work. So, Reverend Dr. Starlette Thomas, welcome to Good Faith Weekly.
Am I, though?
You are very welcome. I'm so excited to be talking to you today. This is a very unique episode, and so I'm excited for our conversation.
It's absolutely good to be with you.
Thank you. So for context for our listeners, we happen to be at our annual staff retreat. So we are sitting in the same room. We are kicking it slumber party style at opposite ends of the bed with our microphones and recording. So this will be a lot of fun. But something happened this week that I thought would be great for you and I to have a conversation about. So I really appreciate your willingness to pivot and do this spur of the moment. But while we were here in Austin at our staff retreat, we received news. We all woke up to the news a couple of days ago that the Reverend Jesse Jackson had passed at the age of 84. Some things, just kind of responses happened within me that were troublesome. And I've been able to also experience this moment alongside you and our colleagues. And I've been sitting with some things that I want to talk about. With you. So for context, my mother passed away a couple of years ago from dementia, and watching that awful disease take her over the course of 10 years and watching her become somebody that wasn't the person I knew as a child was very difficult. And through that time, the memories became harder and harder to access. When she passed, the gift that was given to me was the flood of memories from my childhood. And they came back so vivid. And I was so grateful that happened. And so I know that's just something that happens in the process of when somebody passes. Your body, the gift that God gives us perhaps is those memories. When I read the news of Reverend Jesse Jackson's passing the other day, even though as an adult I now know what an impact he's made, what wonderful work that he did, but my body's first response was to remember the Reverend Jesse Jackson as he was portrayed to me within my community growing up. I grew up in not diverse communities. I grew up where his name was mentioned and there might be an eye roll. There might be talk of him being divisive or bitter, a troublemaker. And I was so bothered by the fact that that's the first picture that came in my mind. So I wanted to have a conversation today about the larger issue, of course, of how this is white supremacy in action. But also I wanted to hear from your experience. So as a child growing up, would you mind sharing with me what you knew of the Reverend Jesse Jackson?
It's a lovely question. I was introduced to Reverend Jesse Jackson by way of his afro, his natural. That's the first memory. And at the mention of his name, there's an immediate sense of glee, sense of adoration and affection. That country preacher was the first one to tell me that I was somebody. That's how I knew it. That's what attracted me early on to the Black church tradition. And it was a call and response thing. It wasn't just that he was somebody, but that he expected you to repeat it. When we heard him, it was in awe, in admiration, and deep and profound respect. But also there was a sense of sadness. He had walked alongside the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to his very last day. And so we respected him in that he was this bridge to a person and a time and a place that we can't access anymore. So, but for his sacrifice, we spoke of him very highly.
So, as you mentioned, he was there with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. All along the way. He was also, pastor. He was the founder of the Rainbow Coalition, a presidential candidate. But I know that you know so much about him, and I have so enjoyed just hearing you as you've gone through your own grief process this week, and you've written about him. So I was wondering if there's something that you might like to share about him that maybe isn't common knowledge or not everybody would know.
So, a story that I had heard, I wanted to make sure that I'd heard it correctly and that it was true, was that he desegregated the library where he's from, Greenville, South Carolina. And he, in fact, did. He was away for college. He came back home over holiday break and he went to the Greenville Public Library to check out a book. It was a whites only public library. And he was almost arrested by the police there. He left, but he came back the following summer with 7 more friends. They were known as the Greenville Eight, and they did get arrested and charged with like disorderly conduct. But what happened is that they forced the hand of the people there, and they had to change the law and desegregate. But rather than desegregate, they decided to close all of the public libraries until they were pressured to reopen them. So I have a deep affection. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a bibliophile. So the fact that one of his very first acts of activism is in a library where he's fighting for access to books just endears him to me.
I love that story. Thank you for sharing. So I want to go back to something you mentioned earlier, which was the somebodiness. And I want to talk a little bit more about how the Reverend Jackson impacted and inspires your work. As we noted earlier, you are the director of the Raceless Gospel Initiative at Good Faith Media. Again, I'm ashamed to admit that I was today years old when I connected the dots between your mantra and his. I have sat in so many rooms with you as you invite the crowd to, and I quote, repeat after me. Mm-hmm. And you utter those words that I will let you say on your own. But the impact from the crowd is palpable, no matter who you are or where you've come from. So I want you to talk a little bit about that, how it clearly just embedded itself within your body and why you feel that's important.
My first experience with him saying it, he was reciting, adapting, riffing on a poem. And so I saw a rerun of Sesame Street. It was like 1971, 1973, but that mantra is for everybody. So he was teaching it to children. First they'd embodied it with the sanitation workers in Memphis with "I am a man," but then he relays that message to children. I am somebody, and you have to say it back, and it addresses human dignity and worth and self-esteem, and just the ways in which you see yourself in a white supremacist system. It is hard to say often when you're berated. You have to suffer slights and indignities and micro and macroaggressions on a daily basis. When you're the first African American president and first lady, that is Barack and Michelle Obama, are depicted as primates, it's something you have to go back to. And when you're living in a space and among people who don't have access to a plethora of words that are life-giving, that are future-oriented, but when their tongue is tied to white supremacy and all they know is this nothingness that language gives to them, to hear a preacher, a man of God, mouth those words and to say that you are worthy, that you're made in the image of God, that you are somebody because you're God's child. it undoes so many things. And so I thought it was important, of course, to attach that to the Raceless Gospel Initiative. Yes, you're neither Jew nor Greek, neither bond nor free, neither male nor female, but you're a child of God. And not only are you a child of God, but you're somebody. As you know, white body supremacy prides itself on a false binary of somebodies and nobodies. And so I try to make sure that everybody walks away with that understanding. And I don't take it lightly that I get to repeat those words and echo those words, and that they come from his mouth to mine, and hopefully it'll flow through, and persons will pass that message along to others along the way.
So as I mentioned, I've seen you do this with crowds, and just I don't know how to explain that experience, because it's no matter who you are in that audience, and even people who are socially colored as white, who are sitting there, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the white church does not traditionally enjoy call and response. So
I'm aware.
it usually takes you a couple of times of I am somebody, and then you'll say, no, I mean, you respond. This is where you say. But even for those of us who aren't always comfortable with that, to say those words and to use that expression is a lesson even for this crowd.
Yes.
To say, you're not us and them.
That's right.
You're not divided in this way. You are also a somebody. Just because you're told you're on this side, or you're on this team, or you have a color or a race or a social construct, that's a lie. You are somebody. And so I watch that happen, and I just get chills every time that happens when I'm able to be in those spaces with you. And I'm just so taken aback by the impact that this has had on your life. So with that, I would ask you, now that he has passed, what do you feel is his legacy?
His legacy is me. People like me. It's sad, because you want to make sure that you have somebody else who's gonna say it now. Who's gonna rile us up and remind us of who we are when the church has been co-opted by capitalism and white Christian nationalism. African American people, we go to church to be uplifted and to be reminded that we are people, that we are somebody, that we're not property. We need those voices, because you're berated on a daily basis, and it's easy. Sometimes it even feels better to just succumb to it, to just give up, to just accept those definitions, to let it go, to stop fighting it, even when you know they're not right. That's why it bears repeating, because you hear the other stuff all the time. So his legacy is that he I feel like that Pentecostal fire, that tongue is lit on myself and so many other people who feel compelled and who feel a deep compassion for all people, to remind them and to repeat as he did that you are somebody. You're not poor. You're not worthless. You're not useless. It doesn't matter who you are, wherever you find yourself, you are somebody. Not because I say it, but because you said it. And I need you to say it before we can move away from this conversation, which is why he did it so often. He made it a part of almost every single speech or message that he gave. He wanted to leave with that message. His legacy is that we have better words for us. And we just need more courageous people to speak them, because anybody can speak hateful words. Oh, but to embody love, to keep us all together, to bind us together with our tongues, as opposed to the tongue lashings we've been receiving during this administration. It's no small thing. And he knew that. I'm so grateful that I lived to see him, that I got to rub shoulders with somebody who walked with Martin Luther King, that close to the dream. That's not just even in passing, that you cross paths with somebody, you bump right into the manifestation of our ancestors' prayers. It's no small thing. I'm deeply grateful. I hope his legacy is that somebodyness. And that we one day will be fully convinced that we are somebody without the need to oppress or to other anybody.
Well, like you said, you are his legacy. You stand on the shoulders of Reverend Jackson and Martin Luther King Jr. and so many others. You are part of the dream that was to bring about a kingdom, and I appreciate your work. I thank you so much for sharing it with us. The day he passed, you shared a story around our table with our staff as we were forced to tell stories. And I would love for you to tell that story, or if you'd prefer, I can tell my version of that story. However, I think your version is much more meaningful in this moment.
I was just trying to get my shot. We were in Tulsa. We were there to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre, and we were in service. And there was a preacher up front, and he was bringing a mighty word. He was delivering a message.
It was amazing.
And I was trying to capture every angle, the songs that were being sung, the message that was being delivered, all the pictures that were framed there as we remembered the victims. But I was not going to be moved. So I'm taking pictures. And as I'm taking pictures, the usher is very gently, very hospitably, letting me know, I just need you to just move. And I dismissed her. Jesus. And then when I felt like I had gotten enough shots, I found my seat in the back only for Mitch Randall to come over, and let me know that I was holding up the good Reverend Doctor, perhaps, Jesse Jackson.
Uh-huh.
My God, the humiliation, Lord. I was the mortification. But it's a memory it's a memory y'all won't let me forget.
We will never let you forget it. But I will say this. I am so thankful for that image of you crouched on the ground in the aisle before that pulpit and a giant standing behind you and what that shows us going forward.
Yeah, that I was at his feet the whole time.
Yep.
I was right in line with him.
And like you said, you are his legacy. And I hope that we all can live up to that. I hope we can all strive for somebodiness for everyone, not just for a few.
That's right.
I thank you so much for your work. I'm so thankful.
Thank you.
I hate that this happened, but I'm so grateful that this happened when we were together. I'm grateful for the opportunity to reflect how this person was introduced to me versus how he was introduced to you, and to deal with some of that. And it's just another door opening to examine how white body supremacy is really awful for everyone.
Yes.
So, friend, I thank you for taking time with me and for teaching me and continuing to teach me every day.
Thank you, Missy.
All right, Starlette, one last question. As you know, our tagline at Good Faith Media is "There's more to tell." So in light of your work and our conversation today, what is your more to tell?
I am somebody. I'm waiting on you.
I am somebody.
Amen.
Did my Texas come out enough there? I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you, friend.
You're very welcome.
I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be on welfare, but I am somebody. I may be in jail, but I am somebody. I may be uneducated, but I am somebody. I am black, beautiful,